Hello, I'll just give this a few minutes because I just logged in a little bit early to allow people time to come into the chat. I'm sorry for the delay. I had a really important phone call that came in. Just give this a few minutes because I just logged in a little bit early need to mute my YouTube. But my topic today is going to be on the Texas abortion laws. Hopefully, I won't violate any of the YouTube rules. Since this is a topic that's been talked about on just about every channel, I'm going to take a little bit different twist to the topic. For one reason, this topic is very near and dear to my heart. It also pertains to my professional career before I retired. Just to give you a little background, I was a child support officer in the state of California for 26 years. So I faced teenage pregnancy, minor mother pregnancies, all that, face to face on a daily basis as part of my job. I did work in the legal profession. I am not an attorney. I'm not acting as an attorney, and I'm not giving legal advice. This is just for my opinion only, with a little bit of research I've done on just sort of refreshing myself on some of the different laws. I did work interstate and international cases, so that's my background. I will not, for any reason, answer questions in regards to child support cases whatsoever. I do refer everybody back to their local child support offices, to the professionals that are working in their states, because laws vary dramatically from state to state, from region to region, from country to country. So if you pose them, I don't want to come off as being rude, but I have to take that legal stand. I cannot give legal advice whatsoever. This topic hits home for me in more than one way. A lot of you, I don't know how much of my story you know. I was a victim of sexual abuse as a very young child and survived it. Spent years and years and years in counseling. Got right with myself, got right with God. Actually found a way to forgive, which I never thought I could do until about 3 years ago, which I will open that up as a whole nother topic of discussion on a different video, because it is a very important topic, is forgiveness. And to realize that everything is not contracted that happens to you in your life. Sometimes the contracts go off skelter, which I have found doing this work, which is also a great topic for another video. My concerns with these abortion laws are they're just so unconstitutionally written against women, and the topic never seems to take up the issue of what about the fathers? Why isn't the fathers ever brought in on this topic? All they're wanting to do is restrict people's right to choose, and to violate their ability to have privacy in this process. I was really happy to see that our Attorney General of the United States, Garland, had stepped up to the plate, has filed suits against not only Texas, but any other state that wants to challenge these laws. He's going to stand up for the rights of women under the Constitution, supporting previously the Roe versus Wade, and what was the other one? I think it's Langston Plan versus Kinsey or Kessie. Anyways, those two precedents and laws set the standard for the constitutional rights of women. My curiosity sort of led me into a dive of some of the legalities of Governor Abbott signing into law this law that allows citizens to file erroneous lawsuits against somebody they're suspecting has gone to get an abortion, and to seeking monetary gain, filing a suit against somebody with no evidence of of the fact. Um, and what I tried to research was, where do they stand legally to file such a lawsuit? There has to be some kind of a presumption of guilt or proof of guilt or a burden of the person bringing suit towards the person they're bringing suit towards. I could only find language in the law when I did my research when they're conversing with an attorney that's filing these charges on their behalf, where an attorney gives advice stating, yeah, you can file, you have the right to file a lawsuit, blah, 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 blah. There still has to be a certain amount of evidence that they bring forward as proof. So they have no skin in the game. So do they need to be witnessing the sexual act or the abuse? And why are they not filing suit against the abuser in that case instead of the victim? And then my next question came to, well, so they take this person to court. Does that make the woman that's being accused of making this decision on her own, etc., etc.? Does that make her have to prove to the court that, one, she wasn't pregnant or she was pregnant, who she didn't have a discussion with? It becomes very violating on her defense, the person that's being accused, ability to defend themselves. Is she subjugating her to court-ordered violation of her body to prove that she was or wasn't pregnant, that abortion was or wasn't occurred during this process? I mean, how far are they going to take this? It seems like the victim becomes the victim of a lawsuit under these kind of terms of this law would make her be victimized, which is the most ridiculous thing I could conceive possible. And the issue that, once again, there's no mention of the fetus's father. Where does his responsibility lie? Yes, he didn't grant it. He may not be one seeking the abortion for whatever reason. But there's still a certain amount of responsibility of the other parent involved in this for having impregnated this person. And if they were a minor, and in Texas, the consent law is 17. So anybody under the age of 17, and then that would be something that needed to be determined also. Was a 17-year-old having consensual sex or not? Was this a rape situation? What was the circumstances of it? We go back to the father again. Where's his legal liability in this whole picture of this law, these statutes that aren't even addressed? So those are major concerns of mine under this. Not only that, but then holding the medical facilities accountable under these laws too is a real problem for me too, because there's HIPAA laws that protect the rights of the doctor-patient relationship. Doctors can't just violate HIPAA laws and start dishing out information to whoever asks for it or demands it. So those are concerns I have that don't seem to be being noted or addressed by Garland or anybody else. They are addressing the issues that many of these facilities are federally funded. Facilities, Planned Parenthood gets a lot of federal funding. That doesn't mean the federal government's paying for the abortions. My understanding of the abortion laws is the government doesn't pay for these. These are expenses. That's a private expense that you endure if you seek that option. And of course, it varies from state to state too. But what this has caused in Garland's statement yesterday that I had watched was their clinics shutting down, and they're just not offering the services because there's so much liability the way this law was written. Until it's overturned, they're just closing their doors, which means they're not even allowing a 6 weeks option because they're fearing recourse under the way he wrote this law, that they could be sued from anybody and everybody and their uncle. I have a real problem with that. There is a march that's being planned across the United States on October 2nd. I highly encourage anybody that has the ability to go out and be involved in those marches to do so. I know there's those of us like me that I'm so high risk of infection that I'm actually under doctor's orders to stay quarantined as much as possible. I would love to be out there marching with everybody. My heart's out there with everybody that does. All I ask is that if you do participate in these marches, don't get in arguments with people that are standing on the sidelines wanting to pick a fight. Don't engage. Um, just stand there, stand your ground, hold your truth, and don't get in verbal arguments. Don't allow them to rile you up. Anything. Just think of it as a very peaceful protest. Um, I believe in the right of choice. I think people are just absolutely idiots if they think women run down to use abortion as a form of birth control. It's not. Um, I do know a couple of people that have had multiple abortions that, even though they were using contraceptive and all that, they got pregnant and chose to terminate. It's not an easy decision. It's the hardest decision a woman can make in their life, to have to even consider an abortion. It's something you live with all of your life, regardless of your belief systems. It's not a decision that you make and you take lightly. Um, I don't know why men think women would even consider such a decision being, oh, well, no big deal. I'll just get an abortion. Yeah, it's not that easy. We're human beings. We have emotions. We have feelings. We know these decisions we make for a multitude of reasons, and it's quite sacred to us. We honor ourselves in being able to have children and raise a family. But the timing isn't always right, and the circumstances aren't always those of our choosing. Uh, I would like to see, if they're going to put some of these restrictions in place, that there be retribution not only for, you know, a reasonable time frame to do this. 6 weeks is not even close to reasonable, um, but it takes two to create a child, and it takes two to support a child. And the people that are fighting for abortion rights have a tendency to not want to help raise these children after the fact. They're against public assistance. They're against federal sponsored daycares. They're against programs to get women educated so they can support their families. Sometimes I feel like that there's a whole stance that women should be barefoot, pregnant, and at home. This isn't the 1950s. That's never going to happen again. In our society, it takes two families to two incomes to carry a home in most cases. I know I was a single mother. I struggled. I made decisions on how I was going to spend my money and what kind of household I was going to provide my daughter, and what I was willing to do without, to live in at least the appearance of a middle class lifestyle, even though it was above my means. Just making those decisions. I drove the same car for 12 years. I put money into keeping it running, versus financing a new car, or I wore the same wardrobe for 10 years plus. People don't realize what single mothers have to do to make ends meet, taking second jobs, getting a roommate at times just to help cover the expenses. We do what we have to do to raise our children, and it's not easy. Anyways, that's basically what I had to say about the abortion laws. Can't wait to see it overturned. brought into something reasonable where these decisions will never be easy for women, but we need the support of our government to protect our rights. Um, we need the support of our partners to to help make these decisions. We need the ability to hold people accountable that are under circumstances where the pregnancy happens due to coercion, a violation of a child's rights, sexual assault, things like that. Once they write those things in the law, maybe it'll be a little easier for us not have to confront these women if people are held accountable for their actions. Um, it's really an upsetting topic to me because I have interviewed young girls, 12, 13 years old, coming in pregnant with their mother sitting beside them, gagging them. And that's what's happening. And uh, being psychic in a job like that, I know what's going on. I can read it in their faces. I can hear it in their heads that this is their dad's or their brother's or uncle somebody's child. And mom's keeping them hushed. And she won't leave their side because they're a minor to be interviewed. Um, the interview process on a paternity case can be about 120, 100, or about 250 questions, some of them quite explicit, asking for more detail than even the worker wants to know about how this came about, trying to explain to them some of the terminology because these young girls aren't educated in what oral copulation is and things like that. You have to try to bring that back down to graphically what it is. Um, and then the mom's sitting there going, well, you shouldn't be doing it if you don't know what it is. Hello. These are not kids that are in control of this happening to them. I can guarantee you in most situations, a 12, 13, 14-year-old child is not seeking sexual relationships. They're groomed into it. There is usually always some sexual abuse involved in children that are sexually active at that age. From my experience of dealing with these cases, um, unfortunately, it is a very serious problem in our society. Um, but this same group of people making these laws are also preaching that that women brought this upon themselves. They wore too short of a skirt. They looked too sexually attractive. It's a bunch of crock of bull. Um, a grown man needs to take responsibility for his reaction to seeing a young girl, um, point blank. Um, I'm tired of hearing about rape cases where the victim the victim of the crime becomes the one that has to defend herself because she wore a skirt and a sweater versus a pair of heavy jeans and overalls. Uh, it just disgusts me um, that our society or our courts would even allow such accusations towards somebody that's been victimized. Um, and unfortunately, it happens. And then, we just had 45 leaving office, having let how many pedophiles off. Um, and we even question his guilt or interactions with minors. Charges being brought up and dropped against him. Words that he has publicly said and excused for. Um, until we change the mindset of how acceptable these things are in our society, it's not going to change the actions of them happening, unfortunately. But people do need to be held accountable, um, including the ones that are victimizing young women, the coercion that goes along with the sexual relationships. One of the things I read on was the Juliet Law, um, which unfortunately my nephew got caught up in. He had been dating, he's passed away now, so I'm going to take liberty to discuss this because he's no longer living. But at 21, he was charged with statutory rape because he was having a sexual relationship with his girlfriend that he had been dating since their sophomore year, and he had just turned 21 and she was 17 at the time the charges were brought up by her parents. But they had dated all along, and they had become sexually active less than a year in the length of time, but they had been together all those years, dated all the way through high school, and he just happened to hit his 21st birthday, and um, I know the girl's past. Her father had sexually molested her, and I think that prompted some of the charges. Uh, they immediately, a week after his birthday, filed charges against him for statutory rape. He was very fortunate in the process that the judge separated her from her family members, brought in a counselor, and in chambers questioned her on the situation of what was going on, what was the circumstances of the relationship, was it consensual or not, even though in California state the age of consent is 18. He was taken under consideration the Juliet law, meaning, like Romeo and Juliet, young people who had met and had been in a long-term relationship. He wanted to know what the basis of the relationship was. Was she coerced into having sex? How did this come about? All that. And after he concluded his interview with her, he sealed the records. It didn't get submitted into the court records. He made his determination based on the report of the counselor who had done all the interviews, had documented the situation, and did a recommendation to the court. And the only thing that was left on the record of the court was her recommendation, which wasn't explicit to the details of what was revealed in the interview. The circumstances in which somebody that comes that faces charges like that is a lifetime of being on a sex offenders list, not being able to get jobs, not being able to attend schools. I mean, it just literally ruins somebody's life. So my nephew was very, very fortunate to actually go into a court system that had the resources available to do that thorough of an investigation through the court process. But unfortunately, places, not every court will have that set up and that resource available or the money to put into those resources. So these are really hot topic. I mean, soapbox is an understatement when it comes to this topic for me. And the rights of children and the rights of people having private relationships and the circumstances in which these situations happen. It's a very hot topic. It's a very complex topic. It's a very private topic too. When it comes to like abortion rights, the ability to obtain a safe abortion versus having to drive across Mexico and have some hack that you paid a couple $100 to, like they were doing in the 60s during my mother's generation. And we lived in San Diego. My mom had numerous friends that fled to Mexico and got very unsafe, very dangerous abortions. When they were college students and things like that, because they were going into career fields that difficult, and she's lost a few friends during the period of time where abortions weren't legal, just because it was so backroom and so dangerous, and we can't allow women to have to subjugate themselves to unsafe health issues. So that's where I stand on this issue. I know many, many women out there, even if you even if you're not a person that can make the decision to have an abortion, um, we can't not allow people to have the choice to do it safely. Bottom line is the well-being of the family, the well-being of the mothers, the ability to have children later in life. Uh, all those things are important. And just because one circumstance happened and you had to make the hardest decision of your life, you shouldn't have your rights stripped of you from therein. Nor should this be a way to have a. And unfortunately, I agree with the numerous amount of people that are saying, "Oh, this is just to build up the white race." They have to write the law in such a way that they're not saying, "Well, we're only applying this to white women." They have to make it across the board. The truth of the matter is, one of the fears is the white race is dropping. So what? We're all people, as far as I'm concerned, and everybody's rights should be protected, not just the white male thinking he could go out there and create tons of babies. I'm so sick of this racism stuff that it's just driving me absolutely crazy. That these are divisions in our society. The only plus side I can say about the neo-Nazis and these fascist crazy people out there is they've at least opened the door to the discussion, and people are looking in the mirror saying, wow, where do I stand on these issues? I don't believe in that. And that's a plus side I think that has happened in our society. Is I think there's about 70% of our society that says this is just crap. What is this them and us thing? We're not buying it anymore. We're human beings. We need to live in a society where we all have rights. Um, these people are screaming, oh, they're taking our jobs and stuff like that. I live in Central California. This is a farming community. I will guarantee you drive by any field in this area, there are not white men working in those fields, nor would they. It's beneath them. So don't sing that song to me. These are people that work their asses off to support their family. They come to the United States for the same dream we all have, to have a decent home, to have education available to children, to have health care, to have put food on their table, and to raise a family with as much dignity as possible. And isn't that what it's all about? So that's my soapbox issue for today. I do appreciate everybody that's came into the chat. I'm sorry I haven't been reading the chat. I sort of I'm a bit on my own tangent. Welcome, Sherry, Clarence. Nice to see you. Oh, I just have a few people here today. I know I went on impromptu. This is just a topic that's been just totally driving me crazy for days now. And I'm like, do I talk about it? Don't I talk about it? And I thought, yeah, I need to talk about it. And I'm sure my video will get watched later on. And I stand with anybody and everybody out there that wants to stand up for our rights as women, as parents, as even men. This affects everybody. These kind of laws affect every single one of us out here. And hi, Charlie Angels Tarot. I'm just wrapping up right now, just to let you know. This is just going to be a short impromptu video. I'm in the process of doing an extended long-term reading. I'm sort of mentally working on it right now for somebody that I'll be meeting with later this afternoon. But feel free to give me feedback on this topic. Voice your opinion. We can always bring it up in another video. I do have another video that I'm going to be doing that is a guided video that my guides have been talking to me about fear. And I do want to dedicate a whole video on the topic of fear and how fear is affecting our lives, and how it affects our ascension and our spiritual growth, and maybe some of the things we need to do to help release some of the fear. which I look forward to doing that topic and taking questions from the viewers when I do. I'm hopefully going to probably go live midweek. I'm going to shoot for Wednesday um, afternoon or later in the afternoon. I'm trying to work around other readers' schedules so I'm not conflicting with other live viewers, so that I can help build my own channel and not conflict with some of the time slots that other viewers have. I know Scott goes on in the evening with Lilac and does their videos. I may push it till Thursday because there's less people going live on Thursdays. In fact, I'm just going to focus on working on Thursday to do those open topic discussions. But I do look forward to talking with everybody again. And hey, stick in there. Let's support Texas and Garland. And so happy that he came public on that. I did hear a special announcement in regards to issues coming up in Washington, D.C. with the protesters that's coming. They say on the 18th. I think they're actually targeting. My gut keeps on saying they're going to try to target 9/11 because it's such an impactful day. I don't know, though, for sure, but I know it's going to be in that week. They've already put up alerts in Washington, D.C. I can tell you from what my guides are telling me, the FBI is highly involved in listening to the chatter, watching the movement of these groups. They have insiders within the groups, feeding them information, looking at plans. There is going to be some disruption. If you do live in the Washington, D.C. area, or you're planning to go there, please don't get involved in these protests or counter protests. You're better off just staying away from it. Soapboxing from the side, getting involved with those that are taking such a negative, dark stance on these topics only promotes their aggressiveness. I don't want anybody to be hurt. I don't trust these people. I think they have violent tendencies. So if you do live in the Washington, D.C. area, stay inside. Don't go to the areas of the protests. Don't counter protest. All that's going to do is provoke violence. People end up hurt from it, and I hate to see that happen over such stupidity and supremacy. Clearly, we know they're not supreme, and the Republicans that are standing by this tourism action, as they would like to call it, are nuts. And we can march to the polls, cast our ballots for who we feel should be in office, and take care of it through the legal means, the safer means, and get our votes out there. So thank you all for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, I support women's rights. I support women's choice. I support women's ability to get health care needs met for their bodies. Unfortunately, by these clinics shutting down and becoming inaccessible, it does more than not allow women to have abortion. It blocks women's ability to have affordable health care on women's issues that directly impact them. And that's not right. We need these clinics open. We need this accessibility to birth control. We need this accessibility to choice, to have medical needs met, pap smears done, affordable tests done that they may not be able to get otherwise. So please realize that these clinics are not just abortion clinics. They're medical centers. They provide many, many services across the board to women, young women, older women, women that are impoverished. Anybody can use these clinics. It gives teens the opportunity to go in and get birth control without having to report to their parents, and things like that. And we don't need to close those doors to people's access. So On that note, thank you for joining me. Um, please keep your comments and objections. I mean, you feel free if you want to object with me, that's fine. But please be civil about it. Respect each other's rights, each other's belief systems. I love you all. Thank you for joining me. And I will see you on Sunday at 1:30, which will be my regular mini reading time. If you want to submit questions to me, I did double. Somebody wrote me and said my email was wrong. No, my email is right. It is gotitlightarot333@gmail.com. It is spelled correctly. And I double checked. I do have it spelled correctly. Yeah, I'm guilty of misspelling, but it does match my email address. Feel free to write me. Thank you for those who have sent me emails. I do really appreciate it. I try to get right back to everybody. It would be harder if I get 5,000 a day, but my viewership's not up that high yet. Knock on wood, it will be. But thank you all for joining me, and I will see you on Sunday. And you guys all have a great day. Love and light to you, and many blessings. Please pray for everybody that has family members that are sick with COVID, that that are fighting masking in schools, all that. Please send prayers out to everybody, that people get vaccinated. People think of the children first, protect the children and their well-being. And I love you all, and I'll talk to you later. You have a great day.